One of the biggest rappers of all time and one of the flashiest attorneys on the scene today are going to war. Tony Buzbee publicly named Jay-Z in a lawsuit on behalf of a woman who says he raped her as a child. And from there, the fight was on. And now the powerhouse Texas attorney is involved in a lawsuit against Jay-Z's entertainment company, accusing them of paying his own clients to turn against him. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey guys, so this is pretty scary. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? And research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to this, while Morgan & Morgan is stepping in to fight to hold these food companies accountable. And with decades of experience fighting large corporations, they are ready to stand up for the families who deserve justice. So if your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, visit www.forthepeople.com/food to learn more. So if you've been following the drama surrounding Jay-Z being named in a Sean Diddy Combs lawsuit as a child rapist, you know that attention has been shifting from what are horrific allegations against Combs and Jay-Z to this battle that has been going on both in the press and in legal fightings between Tony Buzbee, the attorney representing this alleged victim, and Jay-Z and Roc Nation, the entertainment giant that Jay-Z founded. Now, Tony Buzbee, already a prominent lawyer in Texas who represented accusers in cases against high-profile clients like NFL player Deshaun Watson, he burst onto the world stage really in October when he announced his intention of filing more than 100 civil lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs. And he also promised to name high-profile celebrities that he says were involved in the sexual assault and raping of both men and women.
The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world.
And I'll tell you what, Buzbee, true to his word, has filed more than a dozen individual cases on behalf of Jane and John Doe's. But the first celebrity to be publicly named in one of these complaints was Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, now listed as a defendant in one of these cases. And the backlash from that was swift. Roc Nation, Jay-Z, they came out swinging, not only denying the allegations that Jay-Z raped a 13-year-old girl back in 2000, but also confronting Tony Buzbee about what they say is alleged misconduct. We actually did a whole Sidebar episode about the accusations that Buzbee committed ethical violations. You can check that out on our YouTube channel for the full story. But going back to this, on top of all of that, Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's lead counsel, filed a lawsuit against Buzbee and basically said that Buzbee had tried to extort money from his client, saying if Jay-Z didn't pay up, this lawsuit would be filed and his reputation would be ruined. But now I have another lawsuit to talk to you about. This new lawsuit that was filed against Roc Nation by one of Buzbee's former clients. And this accuses the media company of essentially, allegedly trying to buy him off. So the lawsuit claims that Roc Nation paid people to impersonate officials, use fake badges, and offer money to people who agreed to file lawsuits against Buzbee's law firm. Again, now Jay-Z's number one enemy. We got our hands on this complaint that was filed in Harris County, Texas, with a man named Gerardo Garcia as the plaintiff. And Garcia is a former client of the Buzbee firm who says he was approached at his home by some of these alleged bad actors. This lawsuit names multiple defendants, by the way. Marcy Bryan Croft, an attorney who works with Roc Nation, her law firm, MJ Legal, investigator Jessica Santiago, Roc Nation, and Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. This is the law firm that represents Jay-Z, often just referred to as Quinn Emanuel. Now, the lawsuit begins, defendants have conspired to obstruct justice by engaging shadowy operatives to illegally seek out more than 24 current and former clients of the Buzbee law firm to convince those clients to bring frivolous cases against the Buzbee law firm. Defendant Roc Nation is financing the effort. Its attorneys, Marcy Croft and Quinn Emanuel, are orchestrating the effort. Quite the accusations. And the complaint accuses the defendants of basically committing barratry. It's a legal term you might not have heard before, but it's the act of encouraging someone to file frivolous lawsuits so that their attorney can make money. So here are the alleged facts as laid out in the complaint. On behalf of two clients, Tony Buzbee and the Buzbee law firm sent demand letters to Sean Jay-Z Carter's attorneys in New York. The letters made no monetary demand. They only sought a confidential sit-down to discuss the client's allegations. Again, this is the client who claims that she was raped by Jay-Z and Sean Combs. In response to the two letters, defendant Quinn Emanuel filed suit against the Buzbee law firm. This is that lawsuit that was filed by Sean Carter. This is the one where he says that he was extorted by Tony Buzbee. And this, by the way, he was first filed as a John Doe. We didn't know it was Carter yet. This was filed before he was officially named in this lawsuit that he allegedly sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl. Going back to the statement, it says, that suit alleged that the firm was trying to extort Sean Jay-Z Carter. That lawsuit was and is frivolous and will be dismissed. Several weeks later, the Buzbee law firm, on behalf of one of the clients who sent the demand letter, filed a lawsuit against Mr. Carter. At or around that time, defendant's conspiracy began. One such target of defendant's solicitation was plaintiff Gerardo Garcia. Mr. Garcia is a resident of Harris County. He was injured in a Jones Act lawsuit and hired the Buzbee law firm to represent him. His case was settled in 2020. He was happy with the resolution of his case and had no complaints with the Buzbee law firm. Nearly 5 years later, after his case had resolved, not seeking to hire a lawyer or file a lawsuit, Mr. Garcia was contacted out of the blue by two investigators. And investigators is in quotes here. This contact was an illegal solicitation and was made on behalf of and as part of a conspiracy involving defendants Croft, Rock Nation, and Quinn Emanuel. One of these investigators identified herself as Jessica Santiago. According to Garcia, two investigators came to his home and flashed him some sort of badge saying they were from, quote, the state. And they asked him about his 2020 settlement, wanting to know if he was happy with the result and asking to see the paperwork. They allegedly said that they could get him in touch with a private lawyer who could help sue the Buzbee firm and get him a lot of money. So what proof do Buzbee and his client have to back up these quite salacious allegations? Well, Buzbee says several interactions between his former clients and these alleged bad actors were caught on tape. Yeah, in fact, Buzbee shared a photo on Instagram of these three men standing on a front stoop in a neighborhood. In the caption, he said, investigators from New York have contacted many of our law firm's current and former clients. These investigators aren't very smart. What they didn't anticipate was one of the clients decided to record the conversation. And the filing includes an alleged transcript of a conversation between Gerardo Garcia and Jessica Santiago, as well as affidavits from other former clients. They say that they were contacted and offered money if they would sue Buzbee's firm. Now, according to the transcript, Santiago wanted Garcia to sign what she called a contract to investigate, which she explained gave a private lawyer permission to look into Garcia's case and settlement. She also mentioned several times that she is from the state. The transcript reads, it's a private lawyer, we are from the state, but it's a private lawyer that knows what the Buzbee law firm was doing. For example, last night someone signed up with us, and in his case, Buzbee was depositing his checks in Buzbee's private account and not in an account for lawyers, and he was charging the interest and taking the money. And he was stealing the checks from insurance, and so he didn't know that Buzbee was stealing. That was his case. Now, I don't know much about your case, but the lawyer you will speak with today, she will explain that she will open your case, see what happened to you, but your name appeared on the list of people that may have something unusual, and she wants to investigate your case, and then she will recommend someone familiar with your kind of case to recover all that money. The client then asks, and they are from the state? The PI replied, according to the transcript, the lawyer is from here, Texas, and also has a license in New York. Us, the investigators, are from the state, but we are not lawyers. Now, Santiago reportedly goes on to claim that 70 people are involved in a class action lawsuit against Buzbee, and she allegedly tells Garcia that the lawyer she wants him to talk to is Marcy Croft from MJ Legal. Again, this is a private firm, but Croft reportedly does work with Rock Nation. Now, in the filing, Buzbee included a screenshot of one of Croft's posts on Instagram where she gave a shout out to Rock Nation and Jay-Z, saying she was proud to be a small part of a great team. Now, the filing also includes another alleged transcript of a recorded telephone conversation, but it is unclear when this conversation exactly happened or who exactly was participating. But based on the fact that this was included in the lawsuit, I think we can conclude that the person on the call is a former client of Tony Buzbee's. But he apparently tells the two attorneys on the other end of the phone that he didn't want to answer any questions about his case, including who his lawyer was, but he said he would listen to what they had to say. So according to this alleged transcript, one of the attorneys says, in a couple of days or maybe by next week, anyone Googling Buzbee and his company, his practice, you're going to see some of these lawyers are going to be going into litigation, okay? What we're trying to do is we're trying to put this thing together for the company that we're working for at this. If you have a case, we could get you paid and you could get money soon, you know? We gave this kid $1,000 to start yesterday just to get him on the right path. So yeah. So the person on the other end of the phone says, okay, let me ask you a question. And the attorney apparently replies, at the end of the day, I appreciate your question. Just hold that thought for a second. At the end of the day, this is going through the courts. Buzbee is getting sued, and eventually people are going to get paid out. Now, it's up to you if you want to be a part of, and that is where the recording ends. So, the allegation that former clients are being offered money to file a lawsuit is actually backed up by two affidavits included as exhibits here in the filing. In one, a Louisiana woman named Skylar Taylor says that 3 men from New York showed up at her grandmother's home multiple times, unannounced, uninvited. In her notarized statement, she says, when I spoke with these men, they stated they were investigators hired by an attorney to contact clients of the Buzbee's law firm to join a class action against the Buzbee law firm. They refused to provide any further information on who they were, what investigation company they worked for, or what attorney hired them. Without knowing any of the details of my case, these men attempted to convince me to file a lawsuit against my attorneys at the Buzbee law firm. These men offered me money to sign on as a client with them. These men stated that they or the attorney that hired them paid a former client of the Buzbee law firm $1,000 to sign on with them as a client and sue the Buzbee law firm. And then we have this affidavit from another woman in Louisiana. Her name is Shannon Champagne, and she tells apparently a very similar story. But she says she was offered a much larger sum of money. Her statement reads, these men offered me money to sign on as a client with them. Specifically, they'd offered me $10,000 in exchange for signing with them as a client. Now, Attorney Marcy Croft responded to this lawsuit in a statement to USA Today, saying, Tony Buzbee has now conjured up fantastical allegations against me and my firm, well-known corruption fighters, in a desperate attempt to distract from his mounting legal woes. We look forward to addressing these false allegations and having them dismissed. Rock Nation also responded, and this is a statement also that was obtained by USA. It says, Tony Buzbee's baloney lawsuit against Rock Nation is nothing but another sham. It's a pathetic attempt to distract and deflect attention. This sideshow won't change the ultimate outcome, and true justice will be served soon. So we wanted to know more about this apparently pending litigation against Tony Buzbee, so we did a little bit of digging. And we found out that just a few days ago, a Louisiana man filed a lawsuit against the attorney and his firm. According to the complaint, Adam Guidry was a ship captain who was severely injured on the job. And in the filing, it states the Buzbee defendants told Guidry his case was worth $1 million, but later coerced him into settling for less than 1/3 of that amount. In insisting that he settle, Buzbee defendants never explained Guidry's options, never discussed the pros and cons of trial versus settlement, never disclosed mounting expenses, and never disclosed the meager amount Guidry would receive at distribution. Instead, Buzbee defendants told Guidry he had no choice. Guidry was vulnerable. He had lost his job as a result of his injury. He was financially destitute. His marriage had failed, and he was struggling with addiction. Relying on his lawyers, Guidry accepted. So according to Guidry, they settled the case for $325,000, but when the case was over and the funds were dispersed, he only got, allegedly, a little more than $5,000. Allegedly, the Buzbee law firm kept the rest to cover fees and expenses, including $90,000 for expert witness fees, nearly $6,000 for postage and copies, nearly $10,000 for more copies, and another $9,000 for travel expenses. The lawsuit also alleges that Buzbee charged interest on what he called loans, basically money up front that the firm used to pay for things before a settlement had been reached. And firms, by the way, are legally allowed to charge interest, but the amount is kind of limited. According to Guidry, Buzbee charged him 27% interest. Now, the Guidry filing also talks about a similar case that was filed against the same company that employed Guidry. This is Callan Marine. It was filed on behalf of a woman named Guadalupe Garza. Now, in maritime cases, workers recovering from an injury, they're entitled to what's called maintenance and cure. It's a type of workman's compensation. And maintenance is money that covers things like mortgage payments, food. Cure is supposed to cover medical expenses. Now, the complaint says at a hearing in the Garza case, Callan Marine's counsel stated that A, other Buzbee clients have reported not receiving maintenance and cure paid to the Buzbee law firm, and B, according to records, Buzbee defendants deposited maintenance and cure payments into its operating account rather than its trust account. And C, the Buzbee law firm apparently repackages maintenance and cure payments intended to provide living expenses for injured workers into loans which must be repaid with interest. So these are serious accusations of misappropriation of money and deceiving clients. And as far as we can tell, Buzbee has not responded to Guidry's claims, and it remains unclear what impact, if any, these accusations could have on other civil litigation that Buzbee has filed on behalf of his clients. But I'll tell you one thing, this is a legal war, and this is a legal mess. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.